Now, once you've clarified everyone's accountabilities for information security, your next focus is the formal policies governing information behavior. Sometimes I think there are two types of people in the world. There's those who love policy documents and think they solve the world's problems. And there are those that think policies are a polite suggestion when they think of them at all. I can tell you that in my opinion, they're both wrong. When you think about cybersecurity policies, you should have one question in mind. Do they shape behavior before an incident, or do they distribute blame after the fact? I can tell you that good policies change future behavior. Now, let's start with the bad policies first. These are the ones that list everything a person should not do. They are always very long and therefore hard to read or update. They use legalistic language, which is hard to absorb, and taken literally, day-to-day operations become unreasonably difficult. They're often unenforceable, covering so many behavior specifics that full monitoring is practically impossible. So in my opinion, at a minimum, policies that change behavior need to be in plain English, concise, reasonable, and enforceable. My advice is to concentrate on the intent of the policy rather than verbose detail, and trust your staff to exercise discretion after absorbing the intent of the policy. Always align policies with accountabilities and responsibilities discussed previously, and then with the training that we'll discuss shortly. So, when you start building your new accessible and effective policy library, there are 4 that you should prioritize. Information security is number 1, so information security policy. This should be a school leadership statement about your information security commitment and intent. It shouldn't be a thou shalt not document. That belongs in your acceptable use policy, which comes next. I strongly recommend including a balance of high-level don'ts with a real focus on what constitutes valid use of networks and systems at your school. Brevity is essential, so condense wherever you can, and maybe bring your best writers in to help with this particular exercise, regardless of their technical expertise. And of course, make sure that whatever you include fits with our principles of enforceability and reasonableness. Now, your third priority policy is data retention. So each jurisdiction will be slightly different. Find the hard policies that you need to adhere to and look for local frameworks that are useful. In the UK, you can use the IRMS Schools Toolkit, which I've used previously to great effect. In Australia, government schools can reach out to their department. And for non-government schools, I recommend the Australian Society of Archivists Record Retention Schedule for non-government schools. Very good document. Number 4 is your privacy policy and privacy notice. Now, this should be freely available to anyone that asks for it, and it might be compulsory already depending on your jurisdiction. I recommend you always keep a hard copy on premise and, of course, make it available online. You should look for relevant frameworks in your jurisdiction, including ICO guidance in the UK and OAIC guidance in Australia. Essentially, in this policy, you need to explain the following: how you're using an individual's data, who it's shared with and under what conditions, where it's hosted, and the person's rights regarding that data. Now, there are penalties for not having this in place, so most of you should already have it set up, but if you don't, I recommend that you get cracking. You should consider forming a group of staff from across your school to review policies and ensure they're accessible to staff. There are many pieces of software that can support this work. As you can see on the screen in the short video, our Engage product allows you to store, update, and share your school policies using the documents and daybook features. And in Daybook, Engage lets you run collaborative processes to share, review, update, and approve policies across your leadership team, as you can see here on the screen. So how do you know that your policies are actually effective? Simple. You should be able to see that behavior is changing. For example, have the number of service desk tickets reporting dodgy emails gone up since your information security policies have been released? Has the number of data loss prevention alerts reduced if you have that in place? These are just some of the metrics that could indicate policies have been absorbed by your staff. You should look to work out your own and then monitor these going forwards.